Hi everyone, thanks for joining. We'll just give it a couple more minutes for other people to join and then we'll get started with the session. Hi everyone, welcome to our really exciting MOOC planned for today. We will be going through the journey into software engineering with Ford. Backstage, you have me, Krupa. I'm a Code First Girls brand ambassador. I've done several Code First Girl courses throughout the years and they've really helped me in my career. And I'm really looking forward to giving back to the community as a brand ambassador. Before we actually get started with the session, I wanted to introduce you to the Nano degree that Code First Girls has, in case you haven't heard of it. The Nano degree is an intensive training program split into 3 different streams. So we've got data, software, and full stack development. It is mainly for serious students such as career switchers or current students looking to get into tech. It's a 12-week program fully funded by our sponsors. So we've actually got positions sponsored by Ford. We've got positions for software. So there's 5 places in Stratford. The applications actually close this Friday, so please do get your applications in as soon as possible. The first 6 weeks will mainly be foundation training, so this will be the same for all 3 streams. And then the final 6 weeks will be more of a specialization. Ford are looking for those who are returning back from a career or those who are looking to switch careers. So these will be people who have had some time in an industry. It's honestly such a great experience to have a fully funded program with a job lined up with the sponsor at the end of it. So with Ford, you will have an 18-month training contract, after which you may be offered a permanent position. I'll add the link for the 9 degree in the chat, but if you have any other questions related to Code First Girls, please do feel free to put them in the chat. I'll try and get to them. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Egol, who joined Ford as an IT graduate. So hi.
Hi. Hiya.
So she joined as an IT graduate back in 2016 and has had several roles, including project management, software engineering, testing, and has recently moved into more of a coaching and talent development role. She'll be joined by her colleagues at the end of the session, so Joanna, Yasmin, and Gulam for the Q&A session. So take it away.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'll just take you through a little bit about Ford and what we're about. So hopefully you've all heard of us in some capacity. you may not know much about our history, so I'll do a very quick tour. So the company was founded in 1903 by Henry Ford in the US, in Detroit. In 1908, they released the Model T, and Henry's vision was that everyone should have access to an automobile, so a car. And he did that with the Model T. In 1913, however, the company created the first moving assembly line. This has had a wide impact on the manufacturing industry, not just automotive, but across other industries as well. It means that the price of the Model T dropped from $825 to $260, which is a massive price improvement. So his vision was coming true. In 1964, the first Ford Mustang went on sale and became quite a household classic, at least in the States. A lot of the older American movies will have that, will have a Mustang in them, as it was quite an aspirational car. And I think people still collect the old ones to this day. In 1966, the Ford GT won Le Mans race, which had been won by, I believe, Ferrari for the previous 6 years. So it was quite an achievement. And the GT actually won all top 3 spots, making it quite a monumental event in racing history. And then in 2016, Ford launched Smart Mobility, which focused on changing the way that the world moves in response to the way that the world is changing, as we've witnessed, especially in the last 20 or so years. And that's kind of what morphed into enterprise connectivity and mobility, which we are today. So I don't know how much you guys know about the automotive industry, but to give you a very short overview of what it's been like, it kind of started with steam cars, which you can see on the left. These were often built by hand in small shops, usually by bike or horse-drawn vehicle or machinery manufacturers. And when I say machinery manufacturers, some of these things were washing machine manufacturers or marine engines, and even sheep shearing machinery. So making cars was not that specialized an industry. However, the introduction of moving assembly lines, which I mentioned previously, really allowed for mass production of cars worldwide. And different companies came into the picture, specializing specifically in motor vehicle innovation. So through innovation and technological advancements, we went from the thing on the left to electric cars, which were actually a thing in the early 1900s, believe it or not. They were mainly advertised to women at the time, which, you know, but we went back to diesel, then we had a brief electric moment, then back to combustion engines. And we've now arrived at electric vehicles, which you can see are Mustang Mach-E, which is our latest sort of top of the range electric vehicle that you can buy at the moment. So the industry's always been about innovation. But times are changing rapidly. So when you think about a car or a car manufacturer or a vehicle company, you kind of think of these guys, right? If someone said, what's the automotive industry, what kind of companies you might come up with, you'd have like a Volkswagen or a Mercedes or a Ford. But we're moving towards the landscape looking like this. So moving around is no longer just a car manufacturer's game. Technology is becoming a very important piece of that puzzle. So Uber is an excellent example. They sort of broke into the sort of taxi industry, but that is heavily fueled by technology. It's made it a lot easier for people to order taxis and move around. And tech companies are doing experiments around autonomous vehicles, and they will be at the core of the future of mobility. I'm just going to share this video very quickly with you guys.
Alexa, what's the traffic heading into the city? Alexa, play something that's gonna pump me up.
Hey, Mom has a meeting tomorrow, so you're driving me and Sandra to the soccer tournament.
Yep, I got you. Those aren't just corn, Nolan. Those aren't just magnet. World's largest strawberry. Ooh. So, which one's gonna see? All of them.
So hopefully with that, you can really see how different the experience of owning a car now is, from being able to book a service from the comfort of your bed to being able to check sort of the health status of your car, to being able to even unlock it or heat it on a cold winter morning. So we are in a time of great change. And there are a few mega trends happening within the automotive industry. So you have urbanization. So as more people move to cities, companies have to come up with mobility for people and goods that doesn't involve cars. We can't, as much as we can squeeze more people into a city, we can't really squeeze more vehicles on the road, as anyone who's ever driven in London will be able to attest to. Another big one is sustainability. As the world faces various challenges around climate change, the whole industry has to have a paradigm shift, which is happening already with the move to electric vehicles. But also there's organizational change happening in order to put in processes to guarantee a sustainable future. We've also got social dynamics. So cars are no longer a status symbol in the way that they used to be. And people now have more of an interest about how they're going to get from A to B, and that doesn't necessarily have to involve a car anymore. And finally, digitization. So everything around us is becoming digital. Day to day, we do so many things on our smartphones, and everything is starting to integrate. And so it's important that the automotive industry integrates too, in order to not get left behind. So our purpose as a company is to help build a better world where every person is free to move and pursue their dreams. So mobility should never be a blocker. And our mission is to deliver lifetime value to our customers worldwide by creating purposeful digital experiences that are differentiated by simplicity and ingenuity. So we want these to be really intuitive and things that genuinely aid people in their day-to-day lives. I've got another short clip here for you guys. So what you saw there is actually an experiment that we ran right here in London with a mocked-up autonomous van in order to see how that might look in the future. It's currently illegal in London for autonomous vehicles to operate on the streets, but that is very much the way that the future is headed. And so this is an experiment that we ran with Hermes, just to see how someone who's delivering parcels might interact with such a vehicle. So these are the kinds of things that run from enterprise connectivity and mobility at the time. So Hermes is just one of our partners that we're working with. We recently also did a trial with Royal Mail, which was very successful in terms of reducing the number of vehicles on the roads and reducing the distance that they had to travel as well. But there are various things happening with different companies as well, such as Google and Amazon, and probably many others that I haven't included here as well. So next, I kind of want to talk about what it's like to work at Ford and what our culture is like. So here you can kind of see some of what we call our truths. So things that we kind of live by in our day-to-day work. At the top there, you can see that we put our people first. And we really do. We care about both the people that we work with, but also the people around us. So both in the immediate society and our customers. We're curious about what we're doing. We innovate. We look for new ways of doing things. And that's not just technologically, although that is a big part of it. It's also in terms of how we do things and the processes that we ourselves follow. We're built for tough, so we're a company that's more than 100 years old now. So we've had to be resilient through some major events in the world. And that permeates throughout our culture, even now in enterprise connectivity and mobility as well. We're very much one team. We work together rather than against each other. Everyone feels proud of the things that others achieve, and that's very clear in the way that we do things day to day. We play to win, so as you can see with some of the clips that I've shared with you guys, we are looking at what we can bring into the future, and innovation and testing things and trying out new ideas is the way to do that. We work on creating tomorrow, and that is a better tomorrow. We're trying to make it so that people have an easier time moving around, and in a way that is more kind to our planet and society as a whole. And we all work on doing the right thing. This is by the environment, the society, and the people that we work with as well. We focus quite a lot on diversity. This is something that's really important to us, and I can certainly see in my day-to-day work. We're proud to be on Bloomberg's Equality Index for 2021. This is something that companies could opt into, but didn't have to be in. So it was great that we participated in that. We have employee resource groups, and there are various ones for sort of different things, but these mainly are there for people to feel included and heard, for people to share with others that have similar experiences to them, but also to share with the wider company anything that they feel they want to, so that we can all learn from each other. And finally, we have an appreciation of being authentic at work. A big reason why we value diversity is because we want people to come into work as their true authentic selves, with their past experiences, and their beliefs and their values, because we think that's how we get the best ideas and the best out of people. And hopefully that's how we have a happier workforce as well. We also provide employee support and development in various ways. Some of these are support during major life events like weddings, having children, moving house, other less happy ones as well. We provide mental health support for our employees, so it's important to us that people are able to be at work at their best, and if for some reason that's not possible, we want to support people through that, and make sure that work is not adding to difficulties that someone might be having. And finally, we provide resources for both personal and professional development. So there's a budget that people get each year for building non-work skills. So I know people that have studied languages or cooking or plastering courses and various things like that. But there are also plenty of resources for professional development and growing your skills within your job, so that you can progress forward. Now, when you become a software engineer, your life might look a little bit like this. It's hard to capture everything in one slide, but I'm going to give it my best. So you'll obviously be writing code. This will start very much supported with a senior engineer, as a pair or sometimes even as a group, which we call a mob, which isn't the most friendly name, but that's what it is, until you feel more confident in yourself and feel like you can lead the way a bit more. You'll be doing some testing of the code that you have written, which maybe doesn't mean a lot to you guys at the moment, but essentially this is to ensure that everything that we do is of high quality, and that when it gets to the customer, it works as it should. You'll be reviewing others' work, which can seem intimidating, especially when you're quite new, but it's a great learning tool. And it also ensures that people are following a set of guidelines and standards, and that there is a maintained level of quality within the code. In a less technical way, you'll work on story refinement. So even though we do software engineering, everyone is very much part of a product team. So you'll be working with product managers and testers and designers, to ensure that the work you're doing is firstly what you believe to be the right thing, that it's enough work, that it's not too much work, and so on and so forth. You'll also have some career planning, and obviously this is not day-to-day, but we want to support our engineers in growing them and making sure that they're growing their skills, and that we help them address any gaps that they have, but also that we help them fulfill any aspirations that they might have as well. Finally, we will be following a hybrid working model. Obviously, at the moment, due to government guidelines, that's not happening, but we'll be going in about once or twice a week, and this will be flexible and dependent on the team that you're on. And as mentioned, this will be in Stratford. So the next steps are applying via the Code First Girls website. And I think the deadline is tomorrow, as mentioned. So get your applications in quickly, guys. This will be followed by interviews in January. Then you guys will do the boot camp. And then finally, you'll start work with us under a contract. Hopefully that's clear. There are also other avenues into the company. So next year we'll be publishing roles in degree apprenticeships as well as graduate schemes. So definitely keep an eye out for that as well. Now, I can finally stop bothering you guys with my voice. I've talked for quite some time. I'd like to introduce you guys to a few of our engineers and just have them share their experience in the company over the years. So they're Joanna and Yasmin, and they're Android developers. So if we start with Joanna.
Sure, thank you, Egile. Hi, everyone. I'm Joanna. Thank you all for joining. I hope you enjoy it so far, and I'm really excited to talk to you a little bit about myself. So I joined Ford about 4 years ago as a graduate. So that meant I went through the graduate assessment required that ended with a with an assessment center. And I started as a tester within the Ford Pass team. So that was a great way for me to start in the company because it provided me with a smooth transition from uni to company and work life. The team was really helpful. So all the time since I joined, I was always trained, and all of the team members always explained to me how the company works, how our team was going to work, the work ethics, and introduced me to the tools and systems that I had to use. Alongside that, I was also able to do training. So Ford offered a variety of training materials that you could sign up for if you wanted. And I had the opportunity to have a day a week, to take a day a week for to focus on that training. So that I was able to progress further. So after about a year, I progressed to being an Android developer within the same team. And again, in that period of time after I changed to a development role, the team has proven really helpful. So within the team, we gathered as a group and with seniors and junior developers, and we were giving tasks to each other, and the senior developers were able to guide us through how to do our work, better, and how to improve our skills and aim towards being more senior. They were also helping with terms as in day-to-day work and problems that we were seeing, as well as coding ethics, and trying to teach us a bit more about how to be the best we can be, really. And that proved to be really helpful for me and the other junior developers in the team. And we were able to progress more and more. And alongside that, again, Ford offered and has accessible by everyone a lot of online training materials we can access to improve our learning, either day-to-day work or more personal development. As Egle mentioned, we were able to sign up for things like language courses. So I did Spanish for about a year and a bit alongside work. And there are so many other skills you can improve on and that are not maybe directly linked to your day-to-day work, but it's offered there to develop personally, professionally. And I found that to be really helpful for me to gather and be able to gain more skills. And of course, there was always support, training support. So as Egle mentioned, we had career progression talks and meetings, and our voices were always heard by everyone, managers, and there is a constant support for everything that you want to do. As Egle mentioned, you are able to, switch between different roles if that's what you feel like you want to do within the company. And I'm really excited for you, and I really hope you will find our presentation exciting. And if you have any questions that you want to ask me or anyone, let me know. There's going to be I think a Q&A in a bit, and I'm more than happy to take your questions if you want to find out more about anything. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanna. Yasmin?
Hello, everyone. So I'm Yasmin. Good to kind of be part of Code First Girls, and I really hope to see joiners in the company. Really excited about that. So Joanna has covered a lot of things. So just a bit of background about myself. I joined 4 years ago through the grad scheme, similarly to Joanna and Egle. So I took a slightly different route. So rather than going into testing like Joanna did, I went straight into Android development. So I had studied electronic engineering and computing. I found that I didn't enjoy the engineering side so much, the electronic engineering. So I focused more on the computing. So that led me to Android development within Ford as my first role. So I was a junior during my first 2 years or so in Ford Pass. So Ford Pass, briefly, just being an app that allows for vehicle connectivity. So naturally, it was quite a challenge joining and having that big jump between university and kind of working on this like big project all of a sudden with so many senior developers and so many people within a product team. But of course, who doesn't love a challenge? So I would be placed with senior developers. So as Joanna mentioned, you're not left alone. You're always mentored throughout the whole kind of grad scheme. Usually we would pair program. So what that is that you'll usually be placed with someone senior, and someone will be driving, which will be taking control of the keyboard, and you have a navigator who will be directing the other person through the code base. But of course, there's always interaction between the two, and through that, I felt like I learned a lot. And also having assigned time to do some independent learning through online tools. And Ford also offer kind of external courses that you can attend if you find one that you feel would suit your needs, really. So yeah, after 2 years, I joined Ford Pass Pro. So similarly to Ford Pass, it was working on an app that allows for vehicle connectivity, but now with small fleets. So when I joined Ford Pass Pro, I was more mid-level. So at this point, I was taking more of a lead in features, given more of my kind of technical opinions on how feasible, for example, designs are in new features, talking to the PMs, the product managers, the testers in the team, and also interacting with the iOS side, because I was still doing Android development, and that definitely taught me a lot about kind of how to communicate with people within the team and those who aren't necessarily working the exact same role that you do. So definitely great opportunity to do that. And just to note that Ford Pass actually was a global team, so it really taught me how to talk to people that you wouldn't necessarily see face to face. And Ford Pass Pro being a local team within Europe, I found that I had more control over giving my opinions within a smaller team, as you don't have too many moving parts, which quite varied experiences, which is really good in Ford. You get to kind of move around different teams and experience and learn different things as you go along. And there's always the opportunity, as mentioned by Egle and Joanna, that you can talk to your managers to kind of see what you feel like you want to do, where you want to go next, where you want to progress to that hopefully more senior level. And yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Yasmin. Thanks both. So a little bit, I guess, about my career. I've had a different a different route to everything compared to Joanna and Yasmin. Like them, I joined as a graduate, but I joined the IT graduate scheme having studied finance. So it was quite a big leap for me. And I guess for you guys who are changing career, this will probably feel quite familiar. But it was always a very welcoming environment, and I got to learn a lot. So, people were really patient with me and let me sort of learn at my own pace. But I've held various roles in the almost 6 years that I've been here. So I started, I think, as an IT analyst and did project management and testing, and was in an agile kind of role at one point. And then eventually I did makers, which is a sort of different kind of boot camp style of apprenticeship as well. And that's how I landed in iOS engineering, which I did for several years and really enjoyed. But what I found was that it wasn't quite what I wanted to do. And this is the great thing about Ford, with it being quite a big company, but also having people care about you means that you can choose to change if you want. So I recently moved into my current role, which is a lot more people focused. So any of you guys that join will be seeing a fair amount of me when you are here. But our main goal is to ensure that the people that we have working with us are fulfilled in their day-to-day work, and that they have opportunities to grow. And that is certainly what I found in my time here. Anyway, that is kind of everything from us. Are there any questions at all?
Hi, Egle. That was so great. Thank you for such a great insight into the journey that you've had with software engineering. And thank you, Joanna and Yasmin. That was really good. I'll actually bring Ghulam up for the Q&A session as well. We've got a full panel today. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, Ghulam.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ghulam. I've worked at Ford for a long time. I'm currently working in the enterprise connectivity and mobility area with Egle, Joanna, and Yasmin. I'm involved in a lot of internal and external recruitment work, helping place people and move people around the different projects, and just kind of I'm here to help answer any questions that people might have about what it's like to join Ford, what kind of projects they'll work on, and any other questions that they might have. So yeah, happy to meet you all.
Brilliant, thank you. So let's just jump in straight into the Q&A. So we've got a couple of questions. The first is, so all of you are working in very different sort of departments, different teams. What does your day-to-day look like?
Shall I throw it to Yasmin first? Because I guess Yasmin and Joanna will have the most relevant experiences in this case.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say the typical day usually starts with a stand-up. So this is where you have a kind of a gathering between members of your team. So it'll be the product manager, testers, developers, iOS and Android, and also designers as well. Thought I was missing someone. So you have kind of a team update. So what you've been working on, how you're going to progress, kind of features you're currently working on, which we usually split the features into tickets. So you want to progress your tickets into the application that you're working in. So usually after that's done, you'll kind of all split up into your little pairs. So usually I'll be pairing with another Android developer, and we'll pick up a feature or a ticket that we'll work through. We'll talk about kind of how we'll go about solving that. I guess you could call it a problem, and finding a solution to it essentially through code. And I think that's the fun part for me anyway, looking at the designs and talking through the architecture with your pair. And usually we have meetings throughout the day. So you could have, for example, a retrospective talking about how things are going in the team, what could be improved, what's going well, any questions. And that's a really nice opportunity to get everyone in the team together to talk about any issues or improvements, or what to kind of keep doing, I guess, if they're good things. And yeah, that's just a few. I can let, I guess, you want to add on to that. I don't want to make it sound like it's too packed in the day, but I would say that's a typical day for me as an Android developer.
Joanna, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, sure. So my day sounds very similar to Yasmin's, really. But yeah, we do have a retrospective. So I think it depends on each team's iteration. So how long we plan for. So in my team, it's about every 2 weeks. So we do have a retrospectives in every 2 weeks, and we discuss about how those 2 weeks were and how we can improve on different things. So if we feel like something didn't go quite right during those 2 weeks, we can discuss upon it and then take actions so that the next 2 weeks or more will not encounter the same problems, and that will make our work run smoothly and improve our releases and communication within the team. And I think that's a very big part of the team. But other than that, I think my day is pretty much similar to Yasmin's. It starts with stand-ups where we get the whole team together, as Yasmin mentioned, with designers and all the software engineers, iOS, Android backends, management, and we discuss about the day and what we plan to work on, and if we have any blockers or anything. And after the stand-up, we just as an Android developer, me and my pair, we start working on the tickets, and during the day, if there's any uncertainties or if we pick up a new problem to work on, we usually talk with our counterparts, so iOS, and discuss how we want to tackle that problem before actually tackling it, and see if there's any issues between us.
Brilliant. That sounds like such a packed day with so many things to do. How do you guys keep on top of it? What's your secret?
Calendars.
I think from my perspective, I think communication within the team is a great and a must, really. We need to coordinate and communicate, and it helps if we know each other, what we're working on. So I think, for example, through stand-ups, we can communicate that with the rest of the team. And if someone needs to contact anyone, for example, if testers need to contact us for a particular problem, they will know exactly who to kind of go with, because we discussed in stand-ups who's working on what. And I do feel like communication and collaboration is a crucial part of the team.
Brilliant, thank you. I mean, this sort of follows up into the next question, which is, what are the main skills required for software engineering? What skills do you think are needed to be a good software engineer?
Shall I start with this one? I would say communication is definitely a very big skill that is required to be a software engineer, because you're always needing to speak to members of not just your team, as in Android developers, or iOS developers, or platform engineers, but the whole product team. You need to be able to speak to everyone, keep everyone informed, discuss changes, and as Joanna said, have open communication with everyone in the team, essentially, if issues arise, or you want to discuss how things can be improved. So yeah, I would say that's one of the big ones that comes to mind. Also, I'd say someone who likes to learn a lot on the job. Learning is also very important, and every day you might be doing something that you've not done before, and you always have to be kind of open to that idea of, okay, I might not know how to do something, but I will learn how to do it, and I'll be good at it, and I could even teach someone else. So yeah, those are two of mine, I'd say.
Joanna, do you have any others maybe?
Yeah, sure. So I just wanted to add on Yasmin's point, communication. I do feel like that's really important, and especially as a junior developer, you would need to not be afraid to communicate with your senior developer about all the gaps you may have, so that they know how to help you be better. So I think that would be crucial in here also. Yeah, I think the ones Yasmin mentioned are one of the most important ones. So willingness to learn, as you will learn, every day, and there's no two problems the same, really. So it's that excitement that it's more like a puzzle, and every time you do a new one, you have a challenge that you will need to solve, and be able to collaborate with your pair, and together put your knowledge out there, and together come up with the best solution. I do feel like that's that sort of is what's one of the most important skills.
Thanks, Joanna. I'd just like to add to that, actually, and that's kind of something that I've learned sort of the hard way. And I'm not sure if these are skills or personality traits, but I think patience and kindness for yourself. Like, engineering is hard. It's not like an easy thing. And even when you're good, and I think Yasmin and Joanna will attest to this, even when you're comfortable with code, you will run into things that will just make you scratch your head for days on end. And you have to just sort of remind yourself that you are always learning, and that it's okay to do that. And then, that's kind of when communication really comes into play, and, being comfortable enough to say, this is something I'm struggling with. So those are just like my 2 cents on that one.
That's brilliant. Thank you. We've actually got a couple of other questions from the chat as well. So we've got this one, which is, what's the most exciting project or feature that you've worked on?
Guys?
I do have a feature. I'm not totally sure if I can speak about it, as it's not recorded. It's one of those ones I'm like, I'd say, okay, just overall, I'd say, kind of making it brief, a security feature that I've worked on within Ford Pass Pro was really exciting, as we got to work with like an actual device, just keeping it very brief there. And it's kind of nice to kind of work on a variety of features, because usually we'd work with just like a backend, you get responses from endpoints, and then you transform that into UI for the users to see. But it's nice to kind of have a different element added into that and kind of have like more visual I guess representation on the UI, which wasn't something I'd really worked on before in Ford. So that's probably one of the most exciting things for me. Is kind of having that difference, something different from what you usually work on.
Very fun. Thank you, Joanna.
Actually, I'm quite in the same boat as Yasmin. There is one, but I'm not sure I can actually talk about it. But yeah, there is a feature where which I worked on quite recently, and it's quite a big feature. So it took us quite a long time to be able to put together in a good way. But it's something quite a new concept in the app I'm working on, and what was really exciting is all the thinking that we had to put into it. So because we're quite a small team, it's only 3 Android developers in my team, and we had to come together and analyze how we want that feature to go, and take responsibility of bits and pieces of that feature, and then see everything come together. And hopefully I'll be able to actually mention what this is about in a little while, but at the moment I'm just going to keep it really brief. But also other than that, for before we actually got to work on this feature, I was involved with the design team in meetings with our customers to find out what would benefit them the most out of this feature, and putting all these thoughts together, and then with the product management and the whole team trying to address those exact problems that they had, and trying to address those. That was really exciting, along with developing everything, of course. But yeah, I'll hopefully be able to actually mention what that is in a while. But until that, I'll just leave the mystery be, I think.
Egle, do you want me to talk a little bit about what Ford Pass Pro is and what the Ford Pass app is, just to give folks an idea of the type of products that they might be able to work on if they join Ford? So basically, all our vehicles that we've been making for many years now are connected vehicles. And what we mean by that is that they have an inbuilt modem inside the vehicle, and you can see the status of certain things. So, for example, what your fuel level is, what your mileage is. You might get alerts for certain things, if your screen washes are running low, things like that. But you can also control certain things. So as Egle said before in her presentation, you can start your vehicle remotely. You can lock it or unlock it remotely. If you've forgotten to lock it, for example, you can see that it's unlocked and lock it. You can turn your heated seats on, defrost your windscreen, and make sure everything's nice and toasty before you get in on a winter's morning if you've got a commute or you're going somewhere. So that level or the amount of features, connected features that we've got within the vehicles, as we move to a fully electric and fully autonomous world in the future, the amount of control that you will have over things is going to exponentially increase. So some of the features that Yasmin and Oana are talking about are going to be these features which we haven't released yet, we haven't publicized yet or launched, but will make people's lives a lot better. It'll make their day run a lot nicer, like the video that Egle played during her presentation. And we're talking about apps that have got tens, if not hundreds of thousands of users. They're companion apps for vehicles. So passenger car owners use Ford Pass. Commercial vehicle owners, so if they have a transit van, they'll use Ford Pass Pro. And there's weekly releases into the App Store. So you're working on products that, if someone says to you, and I can't do this, but if someone says to you, what do you do at work? What does it look like? You can say, it's this app, and I did this feature, and that's the beauty of working on a product like Ford Pass or Ford Pass Pro and many of the other mobile apps that we have.
That sounds so awesome, and I think it's great to be able to do that as well. I mean, I know a lot of software engineers, once they've actually built something, they're so proud of it that they just tell you to go onto it, check it out. So yeah, that's awesome. I mean, actually, just following up on that, we've got a question here, which are what are the sort of roles that you can have within the software engineering as part of the bootcamp, as part of the 18-month training contract as well. There's an apprenticeships portion to this question, but Ford doesn't offer the apprenticeships. It's just the junior software engineering roles. So yeah, so what sort of teams can you work on? What sort of roles are we looking into?
So I can take that if you want, Egle.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So, most of the software engineers that we hire, they'll go on to work in one of these mobile app teams. So, we've mentioned Ford Pass, we've mentioned Ford Pass Pro. There's a last mile delivery project where, the example that Egle showed of the mock autonomous van that we were doing some testing with. And that's a project where we're delivering thousands of parcels in London and up in Manchester every single week, using teams of walkers and cyclists to deliver the majority of the parcels. So there's an app that the van driver uses, there's an app back in the depot, or a website that they use back in the depot. And then the walkers and cyclists that do the majority of deliveries also use that last mile delivery app. So that's another example of one of the apps that our developers working on. We've got some mobile and web apps in the fleet commercial area. So for companies that have hundreds of vehicles, so if they've got a fleet of vehicles, there's a website that the fleet managers can use to know exactly where all of their vans are at any given point in time. Is anyone being a little bit naughty, going around corners too fast, braking harshly? Do we need to have a word with anyone? That data is available to them. And for the van drivers themselves, they will use a mobile app because there's a legal requirement to do certain checks before they actually take that vehicle on the road. And then the mobile app for the fleet commercial solution will help them do the checks that they need and give them the necessary information that they need whilst they get on the road. But there's also apps and solutions that we're working on in the autonomous vehicle space, in the commercial vehicle space. We've got a huge amount of leadership in the commercial vehicle space in Europe. We're number one in commercial vehicle sales, and we want to maintain that leadership. It is very, very competitive. And the way that we will, one of the ways that we will maintain that leadership, as well as having the best products, moving a lot of those products to electric products in the future, is the actual technology, the mobile apps, the companion apps, and the things that will help people's lives easier. Whether they're a small business owner, large business owner, we're there to provide solutions that our customers need, and that's why we take a human-centered design approach and understand, the needs of our customers and potential customers, and the solutions that our amazing developers like Awana, Egle, and Yasmin work on are solutions that that we know that the customers need.
That is so great to be able to actually work on something that that will have such a large impact. It's so great to hear that Ford is leading the commercial space as well. It sounds incredible to work for, including all the values that you represented for Ford as well. It sounds really positive, really great to work for. I guess I wanted to ask, what's the environment like at Ford day to day? What is it like actually working in the company?
So obviously this has changed a little bit in the last few years for kind of the obvious reasons. Having said that, we still try to maintain a kind of close-knit community with the people that join. It is a little bit harder virtually because, in the office, it was I'd say like a very friendly and open environment. So kind of get to strike up conversations with people over coffee or over lunch. We kind of have like an open kitchen area where people would, eat or have their afternoon pick-me-up beverages. So, but we still try to sort of have those conversations. It just takes a little bit more effort and planning. Personally, I've always felt really cared about and sort of looked after and included, actually. I think people love for everyone to participate in the various things we have going on. So we'll have things like when Diwali comes around, we'd have a day of it where people share their sort of traditions and, foods, and we'd have various different things going on for that. And that's just one example of the different events that would happen at the office. I think we had like a bring a dog to work day once, which I missed, which is the saddest thing ever.
It was so cool.
Well, I'm so sad I couldn't be there. But I guess we try to make it as comfortable an environment for people as possible. And I kind of like to think that everyone feels sort of welcomed. And actually, some of my best friends have come from Ford. Like, I've made some really close, like, lifelong friends. So even though they're no longer at Ford, I'm still in touch with them. So I think it's like a really open and relaxed environment. I don't know if you guys have a different or anything to sort of add to that.
No, I totally agree with you, Egle. You summed that up very, very perfectly. Everyone's just super sweet and kind, and always there, kind of like to help each other out. And you don't have to feel embarrassed or kind of timid around other people. Everyone's very open. Yeah, so pretty much what you said, Egle.
Yeah, it's been really interesting, I think, since we started working from home now, coming up, it's been 2 years, right? So since the pandemic started, we've been working fully remotely. And, we do intend to go back, and we intend to adopt, a hybrid working model, as Egle mentioned, because it's important to be in the office when we need to collaborate and work together. But it's not important necessarily to be in the office to just work on your laptop. We're looking forward to being allowed to go back, but it's been really interesting based on the comments that you just shared there, Yasmin and Egle, that we've always cared about each other in the workplace, and that's continued since when we've been working remotely. So we might not be able to have those corridor conversations or let's go for a coffee or let's go for lunch, but quite often people message each other out of the blue and say, hey, do you fancy a virtual coffee? I just need a break. I want to chat about stuff, not work, and it's good to stay connected because some people might have a busy household and have other people in the house that they interact with, but others might not. And the focus shouldn't always be thinking or talking about work. It's okay to have a break. That's what we would do if we were in the office. We'd go and get a cup of tea, or people would play table football or go for a walk, and it's a little bit more difficult to remember to do that when you're at home. So those interruptions are very necessary sometimes.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, we try to integrate some of the socials that we used to have. So, for example, we sometimes, like every once in a while, we play online games, like through different quizzes or drawing or things like that within the team, so that we can keep that socializing, or just having just a chat, within the teams or within the inner team. And I found that like a really good way to stay in touch and talk to each other more during these times also.
That sounds so lovely. That sounds really great. I think especially with this whole pandemic, teams, you feel more distant to your work, but at the same time your work accounts for most of your day. So I think having that break, socializing, it's such a great point you made. I wanted to bring up another sort of nanodegree question, actually. So the question here is, so obviously the nano degree with Ford is mainly focused on career switchers, so people who have worked in an industry for a certain amount of time, or those who are taking a break and then wanting to come into tech. So if you've done some courses on some basic coding, so you have enough knowledge before starting your nano degree, is there anything else you could do to prepare? So I guess if I'll just take point on this one first, the basic requirements for the nano degree are that you should have done a sort of code first girls course beforehand, or a certified course for your coding. You don't have to have gone to uni, so that's not a mandatory requirement. But you do need to show sort of initiative and your interest in coding. So alongside this, I guess another follow-up question for all of you would be, do you know of any sort of websites or other courses or potential personal projects that people can work on to improve their skills?
For me, I think it depends on what you want to concentrate a little bit more on. So, for example, from being an Android dev, from an Android perspective, I think Google offers a variety of courses, both for Java and Kotlin, that are very, very useful, and they kind of aim at a different level. So they have for beginners that takes you from basically no knowledge at all to sort of some knowledge, and then they take it to the next step, so from some knowledge to moderate, and I think they have some for advanced knowledge also for both Java and Kotlin. So I do find those very, very useful. So I think that's a very good source to check out if you're interested in Android development.
Yeah, and I'd say a couple from the top of my head, that might help you. Definitely, what's been said. So if you've got any kind of side projects, anything that you're passionate about that you decided to create an app or a website or a solution for, that's always, something great to talk about in an interview in terms of, well, what brought you into software engineering, what interests you about it. But there's websites like Code Wars and Code Academy, that people, you don't have to spend any money or a lot of money to kind of pursue your passion. And what Code First Girls is doing is amazing, because they make all of these resources available to you for free. But there's lots of other great websites out there that you can go on, and I think Code Wars kind of gamifies how you learn, and it kind of gets harder and harder and sets you kind of different challenges. But we talked about it before, right? One of the biggest skill sets that you'll need, now whilst you're doing the nano degree, once you join Ford and throughout your career, as a dev, is solving problems. That's kind of never going to stop. You're always going to be solving problems. So doing what you're already doing, the journey that you're on, and hopefully landing a place on the nano degree. And you will not be the finished article when you come off the nano degree. We don't expect that. That would be very, very unfair for Ford or any company to think, once you've done the nano degree, right, you're a fully kind of trained dev now, off you go. It's a journey that's going to continue over months and years, and you'll be pairing with people, you'll have coaches, you'll have mentors, and different people learn at different paces. So you will learn at your own pace, you will get better, you will realize when you look back 1 month, 3 months in the past, how far you've come. Don't compare yourself with anyone else, because everyone's different. And it'll become very, very apparent when you don't feel you're a junior anymore. Now you're picking up tickets yourself, you're solving problems, you're doing a lot of the coding, you're leading things. You might even have someone junior to you that you start to coach and mentor, in that future, as you kind of work towards becoming a mid-level engineer, and then towards a senior. It's a journey you're on, and you're always going to be learning. So there's no magic point where the learning stops, I think, for any of us in any tech career, to be honest.
Yeah, just to add to that, even as like mid or senior level developers, we even have assigned times. For example, in my team, we have Friday afternoons, which we call power up times, and that's just time dedicated to do any kind of learning that you want to do to progress and learn. So as Guillaume said, that you can always learn more. there's not a point where you've known everything. So yeah, it's always progressing and learning and continuing to progress, which is the main, I guess, point.
That's such a great initiative. I wish more companies would adopt that, especially with the training that you mentioned in your presentation as well. I think there's so many things, especially with the field advancing so quickly. It's really hard to keep up with that whilst doing a full-time job, but actually dedicating some time to it. That sounds really incredible. We've got another question here. So this question is, what methodologies do you use at Ford? So I think what they're trying to say is what languages do you use at Ford? Do you have any sort of frameworks that you specifically use at Ford?
Yeah, so I mean, I can take this. Not really a software engineer anymore, but it's easy enough. So we follow agile practices, agile working. Some teams follow Kanban style. I don't know how much this will make sense to different people, but some teams follow Kanban, some follow Scrum. Again, it's that piece around being flexible and doing what's right for the team. But overall, we do work in an agile way. Actually, I'm not sure if Android will be different. I know in iOS we follow an MVVMC style of architecture, so model view model controller. Oh, that's a mouthful. But is it the same for you guys? Is it? Or do you something else?
Yes, MVVM, so model view. Yeah.
So we've added an extra layer of complexity because why not? So that's kind of what we follow. In terms of languages, I think Android, are you still a blend of Java and Kotlin, or are you now fully Kotlin?
So, for example, for my project, I'd say it's fully Kotlin, but I know Ford Pass had a mixture of Java and Kotlin.
Yeah, in Ford Pass Pro, we've had a fun task of conversing a lot of our legacy Java code into Kotlin, which has been quite nice to to do that, achievement. It's like, yes, I've removed some of that legacy code.
Which is actually that's a good point, Yasmin. That is one of the things you start to do as you're more comfortable. You can start fixing things as you spot them in the code. And then I know that our backend teams use Java, and on the front end we have, I believe we use React. I think. So that's like a blend of JavaScript and HTML and Java. So there's quite a variety of things to get sort of stuck into. I hope that answers that question well.
That was great. Thank you. We don't have any more questions, but I thought we could just end off with, what is one piece of advice that you can give to someone looking to get started? And then I guess, what's the one piece of advice you could give to yourself before you even got started?
Very good, good question. I think it's kind of not trying to do it all at once. So I think consistency, doing a little bit consistently rather than trying to do everything all in one go is kind of what I wish I'd done. I still don't do it with new things I learn either, but especially with coding, it's so important to let the sort of foundations sink in. That's not really something that should be rushed. And so I would say, definitely, like, in fact, I gave this exact advice to someone recently where it was like, every single day, just do half an hour, maybe an hour of coding, and learn something new each day, but something small, right? And that's where places like Codecademy can come really handy, because you're then following a more structured course. And yeah, don't feel, I think, don't feel put down by, like, if you run into issues or if it's hard, just sort of, if you get really frustrated, put it to the side, but then carry on the next day and the next day and so on and so forth. And I think that builds that kind of that resilience, but also that like patience piece and the kind of piecing things together. So that's kind of my one that I wish I had done when I started.
From my side, it would be don't be afraid to get things wrong, because you will, and everyone still does. It doesn't really matter if you're junior or senior or so. So the most important thing is, take some time, rethink things through, ask for the help from other people, other software engineers, other friends, or whoever really, and you will get tips to at that point towards the right direction, and through research you will be able to figure it out. But just don't be scared to get things wrong, or don't be scared to challenge yourself, because I think that's one of the most important things to tackle something that you don't think you can do, but you will be able to do. And once you actually do it, you'll be completely, overwhelmed with happiness, I think. So, for myself, I think what I would say myself is maybe improve on patience. So you do have to have patience with yourself when learning. You may get the impression that you want to kind of know everything after a while and get frustrated that maybe you still have some gaps. But it's always, as I think Gula mentioned, it's good to have patience, and everyone learns at different speeds, or everyone picks up on different things. So some people may pick up on certain areas, you may pick up on different areas, and kind of combine the lot, and you'll get there. But hopefully this helps.
I'd say for myself, if I was to give myself advice, would be, I guess, not to have so much like imposter syndrome when you first start, kind of just join in not knowing as much as everyone else, and kind of being like, oh gosh, what am I doing here? I'm never going to learn as much as I'm never going to know, as much as everyone else does. And I think it's, again, that slowing down, take it little by little, just devise a plan of action. So how are you going to learn? Like, take one topic and try and get through that, go on to the next topic, go through that, and so on and so forth. Because I think there's quite a lot of kind of information to take in at once when you first join, as there's like such a big difference, I found personally, between what you learn in university and how you apply that to I guess to real life. So I'd definitely say don't compare yourself to others. It's fine if you don't know as much as the next person does, and you will eventually get there, and you will look back and be like, oh gosh, why did I feel like that? I got here eventually, right? So yeah, that's kind of my piece of advice.
Well, you've all said all the things that I would have said. So, but yeah, I'll totally reiterate that point, Yasmin. The imposter syndrome. I'll go a step further. When you hear that voice that tells you that, oh, you're not good enough to do this, or you're a fake, you're an imposter. Actually, like, virtually punch that voice away from you, right? Because there is no need for that doubt, and be aware that everyone has those doubts, no matter if they're the CEO of a company or there's someone that's just started. Every single person has those doubts. And then secondly, for myself, I would say, be kind to yourself. It's something Egle said earlier, right? Be kind to yourself, take breaks, prioritize taking breaks, prioritize your mental health, prioritize sleep and rest, and exercise, because when you just working away continuously without taking breaks, without resting, you're not your most effective self. So you need to prioritize those things as well.
That was really good advice, guys. I hope everyone who's watching, feel free to take notes. This will actually be up for around a week or two afterwards, so feel free to come back. There's been great input this session. But if we have no other questions and nothing to add, I think we can end the broadcast. Everyone will be getting a PDF with some of the slides from Ford at the end of this in an email. But for everyone interested, feel free to look at the Code Fast Girls website, as well as the links that we put into the chat as well. So thank you, everyone. That was great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Andy, bye.